Guys, if you missed it, the Browns have proposed a new rule that will be voted on by the owners next month. The Browns are proposing, and Steve, you take tag board full here, to expand the length in the future that you can trade a draft pick from 3 years out to 5 years out.
I didn't even know there was a rule in the NFL.
Yes.
It is not actually, Jason, according to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk.
Yeah.
It is not explicitly written in any deal, any structure that you can't do more. It's just no one does more than 3 years out.
Well, then why would they
Why do they need a rule for it?
vote?
Then why do they need this proposal?
So
It's
the
not
way
a rule.
Florio made it seem is it's
Like an unwritten rule?
and they want to establish that it's legal to do it for 5 years out. Will this be a good or bad thing for the NFL?
Every once in a while, a rule change comes along that doesn't just tweak the game, it has the potential to completely reshape it. And right now, the NFL is looking at one of those moments. The Cleveland Browns have proposed a rule that could fundamentally change how teams build their rosters. It's not about gameplay, penalties, or officiating, it's about the future, literally. Right now, NFL teams can only trade draft picks up to 3 years ahead. That limit has kept teams from going too far into the future when making aggressive moves. It creates a natural boundary, forcing franchises to stay somewhat grounded in the present. But what happens if that boundary disappears? The Browns want to extend that limit to 5 years. That means teams could start trading picks far into the future, 2029, 2030, even 2031. Suddenly, decisions made today could impact teams half a decade from now.
X guy worry about it.
Why do you think the Browns are of all teams? Why do you think they're proposing this?
I have an idea.
You should swing. This is your hypothesis, Jason.
Yeah, Jason, you and
You're
I.
supposed to step right into this. And
Oh, with the arch thing?
Or it's 2029, right?
Well,
No, for Arch next year. You
What?
trade every pick until you possibly can to get Arch next year.
I mean, I don't know that they would trade 5 first-round picks to move up. I don't think any team would do that to
That's
take
wild.
a college kid.
That's wild.
Jimmy's like, hold my beer.
I would honestly say that anybody. So who's traded the most for a first round quarterback? Like I know RG3. They traded a bunch for him.
It was three first. It's never been more than 3 first-round picks.
Even when the people like have said let's tank for a certain player.
At first glance, it might sound like a small technical change, but it's not. This is about power, it's about strategy, and it's about how teams take risks. Because once you allow teams to reach further into the future, you're also allowing them to gamble more. A team could push all its chips in for a superstar today, sacrificing years of future drafts in the process. Or they could stockpile picks and plan long-term dynasties. This is the kind of change that doesn't just affect one team, it changes how every team thinks. And that's why this proposal is getting so much attention. Because if it passes, the NFL won't just look different, it will operate differently. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to look at the rule itself.
The Cleveland Browns are proposing a new rule that would allow you to, instead of trade draft picks at a maximum of 3 years, you could now trade up to a maximum of 5 years. Of course it would be the Browns. Like, some rules and guidelines are put in place to save you from yourself. One of the worst franchises of all time. They don't want to let you be able to just make half a decade's worth of bad decisions every single year.
The Browns have proposed an amendment to the NFL's constitution that would allow teams to trade draft picks up to 5 seasons into the future. Currently, teams are effectively limited to trading picks 3 years ahead. That 2-year difference might not sound like much, but in the NFL, it's massive. Under this new rule, teams would be able to make moves involving draft picks from seasons that are still far away. For example, as early as this offseason, teams could begin trading selections from 2029, and if the rule passes, they could even go as far as 2031.
Something this, I don't want to say, well, it is pretty drastic. Something this significant when you're talking about altering the draft selection rules, right, and what you can offer in trades. I think this is not something that gets done in an offseason. I think that this is something that they're going to mull over, and it's going to get hashed out in the coming months and years. This isn't something that's going to get approved right away.
Think about that for a second. Teams would be making decisions today that affect players who are still in high school right now. That's how far-reaching this proposal is. This isn't just theoretical either. The Browns have already shown a willingness to push boundaries. They were the first team to trade a 2028 draft pick last year, signaling that they're already thinking ahead more aggressively than most franchises. This proposal simply takes that mindset and expands it. It gives teams more flexibility, more tools, and more opportunities to build their roster in creative ways. But it also introduces new challenges, because the further you look into the future, the harder it becomes to predict outcomes. That's what makes this so fascinating. It's not just a rule change, it's a shift in how teams approach time itself. So why are the Browns pushing for this? The answer comes down to strategy. The Browns have been one of the most aggressive teams in the NFL when it comes to roster building. Over the past few years, they've made bold moves, taken risks, and shown they're willing to sacrifice the future for the present if it means competing at a higher level. But that approach comes with limitations. Right now, the 3-year cap on draft pick trades restricts how far teams can go when making deals. It forces them to stay within a relatively short window, and for a team that wants maximum flexibility, that's a problem. By extending that window to 5 years, the Browns would unlock new possibilities. They could structure deals in ways that weren't possible before. They could spread out risk across a longer timeline, and they could potentially outmaneuver other teams by thinking further ahead. There's also another layer to this.
Yeah.
3 trades. There's a bunch of trades and teams that go up
Hey,
and pay a high price.
hey, let me let y'all know something, man. Listen, y'all might want to chill out. See, the Browns is always getting creative. Stop getting creative. Like, y'all doing TurboTax stuff now. You trying to figure out. We already got in trouble once for this contract.
Yeah.
They just finally let us off probation. We off probation. We just gonna let it ride out.
I don't know. I think you're still.
We still.
You're still paying the fines.
We still. Listen, the money. We still getting that off. But they're like, oh, we'll let you on TV. Just go ahead and chill out. Don't be doing too much. Now y'all talk about these picks. They're like, no, listen, haven't you learned your lesson? We're not going to let you trade 10 picks in 10 years in a row to get you a quarterback. Like, it's not. And by the way, if I always said this, if the quarterback is that good.
The NFL is becoming increasingly competitive, and the margin for error is shrinking. Teams are constantly looking for an edge, something that gives them an advantage over the rest of the league. This rule could be that edge. It rewards teams that are bold, creative, and willing to think long-term, and that fits perfectly with the Browns' recent approach. But it's not just about the Browns. If this rule passes, every team will have access to the same tools. The question is, who will use them best? Because in a league where every decision matters, the ability to control your future could be the most valuable asset of all. If this rule is approved, the way NFL teams build their rosters could change dramatically. Right now, most teams operate within a relatively short window. They focus on the next few seasons, balancing immediate needs with near-term development. But with a 5-year trade window, that timeline expands significantly. Suddenly, teams can think much further ahead. This could lead to more aggressive trades. Teams chasing a Super Bowl might be willing to give up multiple future first-round picks to acquire a star player. On the flip side, rebuilding teams could trade away current assets to stack future picks and build long-term success. In many ways, it would make the NFL feel more like the NBA, where blockbuster trades involving multiple future picks are common. It also changes how teams value draft capital.
But it's a brilliant proposal by Andrew Berry. At first, I thought he was nuts. But the more I thought about it the last
is he playing 4D chess over here?
Well, the more I thought about it over the last couple weeks, and then I read the language of the actual proposal last night, I'm like, you know what? Maybe Andrew Berry isn't looking to do something really stupid and irresponsible again, like another Deshaun Watson trade. Maybe he's trying to goad another team into doing something.
A pick 5 years from now is much harder to evaluate than one next year. There are more unknowns, coaching changes, player development, injuries, and overall team performance. That uncertainty adds a new layer of complexity to every decision. And then there's the psychological aspect. General managers would have to think differently. Do you prioritize winning now, or do you protect the future? Do you take risks or play it safe? This rule doesn't just give teams more options, it forces them to make harder decisions. And in a league where smart decisions separate contenders from pretenders, that could make all the difference. With all the potential benefits, there's a serious concern. What if this rule creates more problems than it solves? One of the biggest risks is competitive imbalance.
This would be like if you were $100,000 in credit card debt and went to the bank and said, "Can I make my limit $200,000?" So it'd be like losing your car at the casino and then seeing, hey, well, I wonder if I can put up my house as collateral. Some things are meant to save you from yourself. Of course, it would be.
Teams with aggressive front offices could go all in, trading away years of future draft picks to build a win-now roster. If it works, they could dominate, but if it fails, the consequences could be devastating. Imagine a team trading away picks through 2031 and then collapsing. They would be stuck without young talent, without flexibility, and without a clear path to recovery. That kind of situation could set a franchise back for years. There's also the issue of fairness. Not all teams operate the same way. Some are more conservative, while others are willing to take bigger risks. This rule could widen that gap, creating a league where some teams consistently gamble while others play it safe. And that's where things get dangerous, because the NFL has always tried to maintain balance. The draft, the salary cap, and revenue sharing are all designed to keep the league competitive. This rule could challenge that balance, and if it goes wrong, the impact won't just be felt by one team, it could affect the entire league. Despite all the buzz, there's a big question hanging over this proposal. Will it actually pass? For the rule to be approved, it needs support from at least 24 of the 32 NFL teams. That's a high bar, and not everyone is convinced this is a good idea. Some teams are likely to support it, especially those that favor aggressive roster building, but others may be hesitant. The risks are clear, and not every front office wants to deal with that level of uncertainty. There's also the timing. The proposal will be discussed during league meetings, but it could be delayed or tabled for further evaluation. That means even if it doesn't pass now, it could come back later. And historically, the NFL tends to be cautious with major structural changes. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a fundamental shift in how teams operate. That makes it harder to approve quickly. So while the idea is gaining attention, it's far from guaranteed. In fact, many believe it won't pass, at least not right away. Whether this rule passes or not, it reveals something important about the direction of the NFL. Teams are evolving. Front offices are becoming more analytical, more aggressive, and more willing to challenge traditional thinking. The game isn't just played on the field anymore. It's played in meeting rooms, through strategy and long-term planning. This proposal is a reflection of that shift. It shows that teams are looking for new ways to gain an advantage, even if it means rewriting the rules. If it passes, the NFL could enter a new era, one defined by bold moves, long-term gambles, and high-stakes decisions. If it doesn't, it still signals that change is coming. Because once an idea like this is introduced, it doesn't disappear, it evolves. And eventually, something like it could become reality. So this isn't just about one proposal, it's about the future of how the NFL operates and whether teams are ready for what comes next.